All right, so moving on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my thoughts on the latest NFL coaching hiring. So, in this segment, I'll be going over the latest NFL head coaches that have been hired, the latest offensive coordinators that have been hired, and the latest defensive coordinators that has been hired in the National Football League. So, we'll start off with my Dallas Cowboys first. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan out there like myself, hang in there. It's been rough. Hopefully, I can see a Super Bowl in my lifetime. But as I digress, we have hired Christian Parker to be our next defensive coordinator in Dallas. So my thoughts on Christian Parker being our next defensive coordinator in Dallas. Honestly, I like the hire. I like the hire of the Dallas Cowboys bringing in Christian Parker to be our next defensive coordinator in Dallas. Now, this is honestly an outside-the-box hire. And if you guys follow the NFC East, Christian Parker was a defensive backs coach in Philly, did a tremendous job grooming up that secondary in Philly. That's one of the reasons why they were one of the best defense in the league. And we stole him away from Philly to bring him to Dallas to be our next defensive coordinator in Dallas. And honestly, this was a good outside-the-box hire. I either wanted Christian Parker or I wanted Jim Leonard, the defensive passing coordinator for the Denver Broncos. Either one of those guys to be our next defensive coordinator in Dallas. And we got our guy, Christian Parker. I like the hire. Now, Christian Parker is a young defensive coordinator. He's only 34 years of age, and he brings excitement to the franchise. We just had a piss-poor defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, historically one of the worst defenses in franchise history. We kick him to the curb. We bring in a young-minded guy in Christian Parker. Has not really scratched the surface yet. But overall, he's a good teacher in the National Football League. But he doesn't have any defensive coordinator play calling. He's never called plays as a defensive coordinator, never been a defensive coordinator in the NFL, but he brings plenty of experience to Dallas, and he has experience at the collegiate level, college football, and in the NFL. And he's worked with several franchises, a defensive backs coach in Green Bay with the Green Bay Packers, a defensive backs coach with the Denver Broncos, and just spent time with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's worked with some defensive talent in the National Football League. Jair Alexander, you look at his work before the injuries started to pile up, used to be one hell of a corner in Green Bay in his prime. Patrick Surtain is the best defensive corner in football, former defensive player of the year. Quinyon Mitchell, one of the best young talented corners in the National Football League. Cooper DeJean as well. And Reed Blankenship, a young talented safety. So he's groomed and helped and developed these young talented defensive backs in the National Football League. I'm excited to see what he's going to do for Dallas because he's a teacher, like I just said, and we need strong coaching in the secondary. That was honestly the weakest link that was a part of the Dallas Cowboys defense all year long, the secondary. How many big plays we gave up down the field in the passing game. And honestly, he needs to help groom and develop DaRon Bland back into being a good corner. We just paid DaRon Bland all that money when we traded Micah Parsons away to Green Bay. If you guys remember, DaRon Bland used to be an all-pro corner back in 2023 when he was piling up all them interceptions. And I know he was not 100% all year long, but there's no excuses in the National Football League, especially when you're getting paid the money that he got paid handsomely by the Jones family. So we need this man to step up as a true number one corner next year. Hopefully Christian Park can help develop this man to get back on track. And I'm looking at what we could do with the 12th overall pick. I'm looking at the NFL draft. Mansour Delane is, in my opinion, the best corner in the NFL draft. I think we should draft him 12th overall. Outstanding corner from LSU to play alongside DaRon Bland the rest of the secondary. I would like that a lot if Caleb Downs is not on the board. But I think Christian Parker is going to do one hell of a job in Dallas. And I think he's going to run a similar defensive scheme to what Vic Fangio runs in Philly. Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive minds in football. He runs a 3-4 defensive scheme, runs a lot of cover 2 looks, a lot of cover 3 looks, likes to disguise coverage looks, and likes to run a lot of high safety looks. I think if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you should be excited with this hire. Brian Schottenheimer was responsible for making this hire, and I like it. I like what Christian Parker is going to bring. Young-minded guy, and I can't wait to see how the defense is going to groom and develop during the offseason. Next, we have a head coaching hire in Baltimore. Jesse Minter is now the new head coach for the Baltimore Ravens. So my thoughts on Jesse Minter being the next head coach in Baltimore, Honestly, this was a good hire by the Baltimore Ravens to bring in Jesse Minter to be the next head coach in Baltimore. Now, I know some Ravens fans out there are probably still upset a little bit about moving away from John Harbaugh. Spent 18 years with the franchise, had a lot of success, former Super Bowl champion. But at the end of the day, it was time for the Ravens and John Harbaugh to just split up and go their separate ways because it wasn't enough in Baltimore anymore. So you bring in Jesse Minter. I think Jesse Minter is what the Baltimore Ravens need: a hard-nosed, defensive-minded guy to lead them to the promised land. Because what has been the blueprint since the Ravens have been a franchise since '96? It's been being a hard-nosed, physical, defensive team first. You look at them Hall of Famers that used to play there: Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs. It was always led defense first. And they need a defensive guy in Baltimore, a hard-nosed guy. And yeah, there could be the argument, why didn't you guys get an offensive guy for Lamar Jackson? Lamar don't need a flashy offensive guru like a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan by his side in Baltimore. Like, this man is a two-time MVP. I shouldn't say generation. Really, realistically, one of the best players overall in the National Football League. So I don't think he really needed that. Jesse Minter is what the Ravens needed. And he's one of the best defensive minds in football today. If you guys look at his work that he did with the Los Angeles Chargers over the last 2 years, he really turned around that defense tremendously. Because if you guys remember, Brandon Staley, former head coach in LA, he did a horrific job as a head coach in the defense. For him being a defensive-minded guy, that defense just plateaued into the ground. But Jesse Minter, this year with the Los Angeles Chargers defense, they were top 10 in the league, only surrendered 19 points per game. They got a lot of sacks, a lot of turnovers. And I would honestly not be surprised if he's the play caller on the defensive side of the ball for the Baltimore Ravens heading into next NFL season, because he did one hell of a job with the Chargers. I wouldn't want to mess that up, and he could possibly be the play caller for the Ravens. So I wouldn't be surprised. But you look at this Ravens team, on the defensive side of the ball, they need to be touched up, because I think Zach Orr did not do a good job with this defense. They started off slow again for the second year in a row under Zach Orr, and he's not going to be there anymore. But there's still pieces on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I look at Roquan Smith. I think he's regressed a little bit. Not the caliber player that he was in Chicago or 2-3 years ago, but he's still one hell of a linebacker in the league. Nate Wiggins, their best corner. He's really young and talented. I like him a lot. Marlon Humphrey is clearly regressed a little bit. They could possibly move off of him this offseason, cutting him or trading him. I think Jesse Minter might want to use him in the secondary. So let's count Marlon Humphrey being there. You still got Kyle Hamilton, the best safety in the National Football League. Very versatile player. You can line him up as a safety and linebacker, let him play coverage. Like, he's one of the best in the game today. Absolute game changer, wrecking ball. Malachi Starks, one of the best young, talented safeties in the league. They need to build the pass rush up this NFL offseason. But I think they have potential here with Jesse Minter now in town. And you look at the offensive side of the ball, I think offensive coordinator, it shouldn't be that complicated, because you could either bring in Joe Brady to be the coordinator here in Baltimore. Had, over the last 2 years, did a good job with Josh Allen, helping him win his first MVP a year ago as a dual threat guy. And then you look at Cliff Kingsbury that's still out there on the market. Cliff Kingsbury could work well with Lamar Jackson as well. And you look at what Cliff Kingsbury did with Jaden Daniels in his rookie year, a dual threat quarterback. These are two coordinators that work well with dual threats. So bring either one to Baltimore. I think they'll be just fine on the offensive side of the ball. I'm looking at the talent they got. They got Lamar, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line could get touched up, I think. I should put some stock into that. They could get another wide receiver on the outside, because I think DeAndre Hopkins is a free agent. Rashad Bateman didn't really do much for me. I would get another wide receiver on the outside and play alongside Zay Flowers. I think this team will be really good next year. I like the hire by the Baltimore Ravens to bring in Jesse Minter as their next head coach to Baltimore. Looking at the Los Angeles Chargers, they got a new offensive coordinator and Mike McDaniel. I like the hire. Going from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel, respectfully, was an upgrade for the Los Angeles Chargers. I know Greg Roman has ties with the Harbaughs. I worked with Jim in San Francisco way back when they had Colin Kaepernick, Frank Gore, Patrick Willis in town. You look at his work with Baltimore, with the Baltimore Ravens, helped Lamar Jackson win an MVP award, and then flip back to Jim Harbaugh. So he's got ties with the Harbaughs, but I don't know. I think Greg Roman's scheme with Justin Herbert, that wasn't it. So I think Mike McDaniel is a huge upgrade here. And you look at what Mike McDaniel brings to the table. I don't think he was a good head coach realistically with the Miami Dolphins. They couldn't beat good teams. They could not adapt in different weather increments. That was not a hot and glorious weather format if you're not in Miami or a hot atmosphere. He just sucked ass in the cold. And honestly, as a play caller, I think he's good at. I think he's good as a play caller. So look, I'm not writing him off forever, but at the end of the day, you guys know if you follow football, there's some guys that just don't deserve to be head coaches. Like they're just good at their jobs, offensive, defensive coordinators. It happens. Mike McDaniel could be in that same conversation. But talking about the Chargers offense moving forward, more creative looks and designs for this Los Angeles Chargers offense that does have a lot of talent. There could be some pre-snap motions going on now, more creative flavor in the Chargers offense rather than having a run-first approach. Mike McDaniel actually uses a similar running scheme to what Kyle Shanahan uses in San Francisco. So I think there's a lot to like about this offense heading into next year. You got Justin Herbert. You got Hampton at the running back position. Najee Harris, too. You got a 1-2 punch at the running back position. Your offensive line will get healthy during the offseason. At receiver, you got Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson. Like, I like this offense a lot heading into next year. And I like Mike McDaniel being the offensive coordinator rather than him chasing a head coaching position elsewhere. He had his hat. He had his name in the hat for the Bills job, the Browns job, the Raiders job. But at the end of the day, this is good. Learn a few tricks from Jim Harbaugh. Revamp yourself as an offensive coordinator. Get back out there to possibly be in the head coaching hirings next year or the year after. So I like this for Mike McDaniel. I think the Chargers offense will be in a good position moving forward for